guys, this video is starting a bit differently than I normally would do a Harvest to Kitchen video, but I kind of wanted to show what I do with some of the stuff that maybe I get either on sale or other things that I keep in our refrigerator that I get at the grocery store. So we don't produce our own cream here yet. I hope to get there at some point, especially after we build a barn. But for now, I do like to keep heavy cream on hand for different things. So this one here had an expiration date that had already passed. And that is a whole other discussion, talking about expiration dates and best by dates and things. But long story short, this is still fine. It hadn't been opened yet and stayed very, very cold where it was in the refrigerator. So regardless that the date had passed, I opted to turn it into butter. There are a few ways to do this, and I might add this footage later to another video where I talk about it a bit more, but I think this also leads to another larger message of preserving what you are able to get, transforming it into things that you like to eat, and not necessarily buying everything already processed for you. Having these skills is a superpower, and I promise you that you can make butter with just heavy cream and a jar. So I poured the cream into the jar and started shaking. I do this while getting some other things done. It's a good arm exercise too. I shake the jar for between 15-20 minutes, and then that's it. You got butter. The hardest part is when the butter gets to that whipped cream stage and you feel like it's not doing anything and the jar almost feels heavier than it was, but then it does separate from the buttermilk. And you just keep shaking and until the butter has completely separated from it. I remove the buttermilk from the jar. I rinse the butter really, really well until the water is mostly clean. And then I store it in this basic glass container after mixing it with a bit of salt. As long as the butter is rinsed well, it can last for a while in the fridge, but we usually go through it pretty quickly. So now back to normal tomato programming. It's October and the tomatoes are still here. It's very redundant in the kitchen at this time of the year. It's tomatoes processed 100 different ways. I have two favorite tools for blanching, like I've talked about before. One is a strawberry huller that I use to remove the stem end and any yucky spots on the tomatoes. Then I blanch them quickly in boiling water, move them to my other favorite blanching tool, my salad spinner. This allows the tomatoes to sit in ice water and then easily be lifted out, leaving the ice in the bowl to cool off tomatoes that I'm blanching next. I'm able to move tomatoes back and forth and kind of reuse the cold water and not get the ice stuck in with the tomatoes, and it's nice. So that is the way that I do it. I am saving the skins here again to dehydrate them and turn them into a tomato powder that I keep adding to. I showed this a bit in the last video. The tomatoes I am quartering up here are to make like a rotel type recipe of tomatoes and jalapenos that I will be canning up later. Now over to my small saucepan, I am adding a bunch of cherry tomatoes I have and a couple quarts of thin plain tomato sauce that I canned 1 year ago. I want to use these 2 quart-sized jars up, and adding them to this sauce will be a great way to do that. I'm making pizza sauce again. We go through a lot of it because we have pizza almost every Friday. And I think this was a Friday and I was going to be using a bit of the sauce to make pizzas with. So I figured I would go ahead and make sauce, make the pizzas with it, and then throw the rest of the sauce in the fridge until I was ready to can it up. You know, sometimes, so it's not so overwhelming, I make the things that I do plan on canning up. And if I'm not going to get to canning it that day, that's okay. You can store it in your fridge for a few days and then reheat it when you're ready to can, and just break up the steps a little bit. You don't need to do it all at once. I don't. It can get very overwhelming if you feel like you need to process everything all at once or do everything all at once. It should be kind of enjoyable. So sometimes I just break up the process a little bit and I'll put the sauce in the refrigerator to can it up another day. So once that cooked down a bit, I ran my immersion blender through it and then allowed it to continue to cook out some of the water to thicken up a bit. I then ran everything through our food mill to just get the tomato skins and seeds out. And then to speed up the cooking process a bit, I also added a couple cans of organic tomato paste. This is just a trick that I do that helps to thicken up the sauce and really limits the cooking time needed to cook the water out. After that cooks together a bit, I add oregano, garlic powder, salt, and pepper. And this Friday, we wanted little personal pizzas that the kids really like. We've been kind of on that kick lately, so we've been doing this every weekend. I use naan bread as a cheat if I don't make pizza dough. And I add a bit of the sauce and mozzarella to these ones. And then Steve and mine got turkey, pepperoni, peppers, and onions. The rest of the sauce got stored up in the fridge until I was ready to can it up. So my canning day was when we were getting a nor'easter storm that knocked out our power for a bit. I was planning on canning in the dark, but fortunately our power came back on and I was able to function as normal. I reheated the sauce on the stove. I am also using this book here that my friend Amanda sent to me as a reference for canning times. Even though I have done this process so many times, I still like to have these books as a reference and reminder of head spaces, how much acid to put in the jars, canning time. You know, here each pint-sized jar gets a 1/4 teaspoon of citric acid, and then the sauce goes on top of that up to, I think, 1/2 inch. So just having these books really helps keep me on track, make sure that I'm doing it safely. So once again, I am double dipping here with this footage. I will be sharing a separate video showing how I made this, but I am canning up some spicy quartered tomatoes. There is not a specific recipe for this that I could find, and I am using the canning tomatoes in water as a guide here. So in the same book that I showed you earlier, I'm using the tomatoes in water as a guide to making this recipe. I thought about possibly making it up kind of like a salsa and like adding lemon juice and just doing tomatoes and jalapenos and canning it that way. But I didn't really want that lemon flavor in it. I really wanted like that rotel type flavor, and I wanted it on the spicier side, so I definitely added a lot of jalapenos to it. So I'm just heating up the quartered tomatoes and jalapenos on the stove before adding them to the jars with citric acid. And after those process, I add them to the towel on the counter to sit for a day or so. All right, that's it for processing what we harvested this week. Let me know some of the things that you're preserving or cooking, and if there's anything you would like to see me make. Thanks so much for being here, and we will see you next time. Bye.